Have you ever wondered how some people keep their homes organized without spending the whole day cleaning? Today, I'm going to share the 12 rules that have completely transformed my home and my routine. In fact, rule number 8 is so simple that you'll wonder why you never thought of it before. I didn't know it either until I discovered it by accident. The truth is that keeping an organized home doesn't have to be difficult. Before, I would spend hours every day trying to keep everything in order, but it always felt like I was playing catch-up. That changed when I started applying these rules. If you're tired of living in a disorganized home or spending your entire weekends cleaning, this video will change your life. Let's start with the first rule, which for me was a game changer. Tip 1. The 5-minute rule. This is the rule that has changed my life the most when it comes to organizing my home. How many times have you looked at a small mess and thought, I'll clean it up later? I used to do it all the time. A piece of clothing thrown on a chair, a few dishes in the sink, a pile of mail piled up on the table. Each item seemed too small to warrant immediate action. Don't put it on your to-do list, just do it. When I first started applying this rule, I was surprised at how many household tasks actually take less than 5 minutes to complete. Putting away that laundry, less than a minute. Washing that cup, 30 seconds. Sorting the mail, 3 minutes. It sounds simple, but the difference it makes at the end of the day is amazing. My house has fewer clutter spots. My spaces stay clean for longer. And best of all, I no longer had to spend entire afternoons getting my house in order. The magic of this rule is prevention. Instead of letting a problem grow, you tackle it while it's still small and easy to deal with. It's like pulling out a weed when it's still small, instead of waiting for it to grow and spread roots all over your garden. Start today. The next time you notice something out of place, ask yourself, will this take less than 5 minutes to fix? If the answer is yes, do it right away. Don't put it off. Don't procrastinate. Just do it. Within a week, you'll notice the difference. Within a month, your home will be permanently more organized, and best of all, you'll have more free time to do the things you really enjoy. Tip 2. A place for everything. This rule seems obvious, but it's surprising how many people, including myself in the past, don't consistently follow it. The problem is simple. If an item doesn't have a designated place to be stored, it ends up going anywhere. And when everything can go anywhere, clutter quickly sets in. When I started taking better care of my home, I realized that many of my organizational problems stemmed from the fact that many items didn't have a specific home. Keys were sometimes on the table, sometimes on the kitchen counter, sometimes in a coat pocket. Cell phone chargers were moved from room to room. Important documents were scattered across different drawers. No wonder I was always looking for things. The solution was to designate a specific, permanent place for each important item. Keys were given a hook by the door. I created a dedicated box for chargers in the living room. Important documents were organized into clearly labeled folders in a single drawer. This required some initial thought to figure out where each item would make the most sense to go. The ideal place is usually close to where the item is used most often. I also considered ease of access. Items that are used daily need to be more accessible than those that are used only occasionally. Once I had established these places, the next most important step was to create the habit of always returning each item to its designated place after use. At first, this took a conscious effort. I had to actively remind myself to put things away in the right places, but over time, it became second nature. The benefits were immediate. I stopped wasting time looking for things. The house naturally became more organized. And what's more surprising is that other people in the house started following the same system because it was now obvious where everything belonged. This rule complements the 5-minute rule perfectly. When each item has a designated place, putting it away becomes a quick task that can be done immediately. It's a simple change, but it completely transforms the level of organization in your home. Tip 3. Don't keep things you don't use. This rule was hard for me at first, because I'm one of those people who thinks someday this might come in handy. But the truth is, that day rarely comes. And in the meantime, These items take up physical and mental space in our homes. The problem with keeping things we don't use is that they silently accumulate. That pot you haven't used in years, the clothes that no longer fit, books you'll never reread, souvenirs from trips that get stored in boxes, gifts you keep out of politeness but never use. Each item individually seems harmless, but together they create what I call invisible weight in our home. When I realized this, I decided to take an honest look at my belongings using a simple rule. If I haven't used or needed something in the last year, I can probably live without it. I started with the kitchen cabinets, then moved on to the closet, and finally to storage areas like the basement and garage. It was surprising to discover how many things I was keeping for no real purpose. Of course, there are valid exceptions. Seasonal items that are used only once a year, truly meaningful keepsakes, and some important documents that we need to keep. But these are exceptions, not the rule. For each item I found, I asked myself the question, does this bring value to my life today? If the answer was no, I had three options. Donate it to someone who could use it better, sell it if it had some value, or dispose of it properly if it was not in good condition. At first, it was difficult. I felt an emotional attachment to certain items, but over time, I realized that feeling free of clutter was much more rewarding than keeping things just in case. The spaces in my home felt more open and breathable. Cleaning became easier, with less stuff to move around and clean. Most importantly, I began to value the items I actually chose to keep more. Less is more when it comes to keeping a home organized and functional. Before we continue with our next rule, I want to make a special invitation. If you are enjoying these tips and want to continue receiving content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to be notified whenever a new video is aired. I am very curious to know where you are watching this video from. Leave your city or region in the comments. Your participation is very important to me. Now, let's continue with more tips that will transform the way you take care of your home. Tip 4. The one-touch rule. This is one of the most effective strategies I've learned for avoiding clutter. The idea is simple. Touch each item only once before deciding where it's going to go. Think about how many times you pick up a piece of mail, glance at it, and then put it in a look at it later pile. Or take off a piece of clothing and toss it on a chair with the intention of putting it away later. Every time you touch something without deciding where it's going to go, you're creating extra work for yourself. The one-touch rule eliminates this problem. When you pick up a piece of mail, you immediately decide what to do with it. Put it away if it's important, act on it if it needs immediate attention, or throw it away if it's not needed. No more look at it later piles. When you take out a piece of clothing, you either put it in the wash or put it away properly. No more chairs that turn into temporary storage. Applying this rule requires awareness and a change in mindset. At first, it's easy to slip into the habit of putting off decisions, but with practice, it becomes second nature. I started by applying the rule to specific areas of the house, like the desk where I opened mail. I then expanded it to other areas like the kitchen. When I took an item out of the pantry, I either used it or put it back without leaving it on the counter. In the bedroom, when I took an item out of the closet, I either wore it or put it back without piling up discarded options. What surprised me most was how this rule not only helped my home become more organized, but also helped me make decisions faster in general. I realized that many of the to-do piles were actually decisions I was avoiding. By forcing myself to make decisions right away, I developed more confidence in my choices and less procrastination. This rule works wonderfully in conjunction with the previous ones. When each item has a designated place rule 2, it's much easier to touch it only once because you know exactly where to put it. And when the task takes less than 5 minutes, rule 1, there's no excuse not to tackle it right away. Tip 5. 15-minute daily cleaning. One of the biggest changes in the way I take care of my home was letting go of the idea that cleaning had to be a huge, all-day chore. This mindset led me to procrastinate until the mess was so big that I had no choice but to dedicate an entire weekend to getting everything in order. It was exhausting and frustrating. The solution that transformed my routine was implementing what I call 15-minute daily cleaning. Every day, no matter how busy I am, I dedicate exactly 15 minutes to cleaning and organizing. The key here is consistency, not quantity. 15 minutes may not seem like a lot, but when applied daily, it adds up to almost 2 hours a week. Most importantly, it prevents small issues from piling up and turning into major cleaning projects. I've created a simple system to make the most of those 15 minutes. Instead of trying to clean the entire house, I focus on one specific area each day. Monday might be the kitchen, Tuesday the bathroom, Wednesday the bedrooms, and so on. That way, by the end of the week, all the major areas have been addressed. I use a timer to stay focused and disciplined. When the 15-minute alarm goes off, I stop what I'm doing. This keeps me from falling into the perfectionist trap, where I start with a small task and end up getting caught up in hours-long details. What surprised me was that this approach not only kept my house cleaner with less effort, but it also changed my relationship with cleaning. Instead of seeing it as a monumental and daunting task, it became just a small part of my daily routine, like brushing my teeth or making a meal. To make things even easier, I keep basic cleaning kits in strategic places around the house, so I don't waste any of my precious 15 minutes searching for products and materials. This rule works especially well when combined with the previous rule. Once you get into the habit of tackling small tasks immediately and keeping everything in place, those 15 minutes a day can be dedicated to deeper cleaning that really makes a difference. Tip 6. The 1 in 1 out rule. This simple rule was key to keeping my home from feeling overwhelmed once I got it organized. It's a simple principle. For every new item that comes into your home, a similar item must go. Did you buy a new shirt? An old shirt needs to be donated. Did you buy a new book? A book on your shelf needs to find a new home. Did you get a new kitchen utensil? Something you already have but don't use much needs to be given a place. At first, this rule seemed restrictive. After all, who doesn't like buying new things? But over time, I realized that it helped me develop a more conscious relationship with consumption. Before I bought anything, I naturally started asking myself, is this valuable enough to replace something I already have? Often, the answer was no, which saved me not only from hoarding, but also from unnecessary spending. When the answer was yes, I started thinking about what could be donated or discarded to make room. This practice has also helped me keep a clearer mental inventory of what I actually own. We often buy duplicates simply because we forget what we already have tucked away in closets and drawers. The 1 in 1 out rule has forced me to consider my existing possessions before adding new ones. For items that naturally grow over time, like children's toys or specialty tools, I've adjusted the rule to periods. Every 3 months, I remove the same amount of items that were added. The principle remains the same. Maintain balance, not accumulation. What I love most about this rule is how it has created a healthy flow of items through my home. Things that no longer served me found new homes where they would be useful, while I kept space for the things that really mattered at the current moment in my life. This simple practice has kept me from falling back into old hoarding habits, ensuring that all the initial decluttering work hasn't gone to waste. Tip 7. Fewer horizontal surfaces. This rule may seem strange at first glance, but it has revolutionized the way I keep my home organized. Open horizontal surfaces, like tables, counters, and dressers, are natural magnets for clutter. The more empty surfaces you have, the faster they fill up with random items. The solution I discovered was surprisingly simple. Reduce the number of horizontal surfaces available and intentionally keep the ones that do exist mostly empty. I started by observing how the surfaces in my home were used. The coffee table was always covered in magazines, remote controls, and empty cups. The kitchen counter was piled high with mail, keys, and small, rarely used appliances. The bedroom dresser was a dumping ground for clothes, jewelry, and miscellaneous items. My first move was to remove a few pieces of furniture that were primarily used as clutter collectors. That little table in the hallway that never really served a purpose other than to collect stuff. Donated. The sideboard in the living room that was always covered in random items. Replaced with a narrower piece with drawers. For the surfaces that remained, I set clear rules about what could be permanently placed on them. On the kitchen counter, only 3 small appliances that I used daily were given a permanent place. Everything else was stored in cabinets. On the coffee table, only a simple decorative arrangement. On the dresser, only a lamp and a jewelry box. The rest of the space was left intentionally empty. At first, these empty spaces felt strange, almost as if the decor was incomplete. But I soon realized the benefits. Cleaning became much easier without having to move dozens of objects. The room seemed larger and calmer visually. And most importantly, the surfaces no longer invited the constant accumulation of new items. This principle also influenced my decorating choices. Instead of filling shelves with small objects that collect dust, I opted for fewer, larger, more meaningful pieces. A house doesn't feel empty. It feels intentional and calm. This rule works perfectly in harmony with all the previous ones, especially with the rule of the single touch and the idea that each thing should have its defined place. Tip 8. The collection box method. This simple technique has completely eliminated those small objects that seem to be piling up all over the house. The idea is to strategically place small boxes or baskets in different rooms to temporarily collect items that are out of place. Let me explain how it works and why it has completely changed my daily organization. In each main room of my house, I have a pretty box that matches the decor. In the living room, I have a wicker basket. In the bedroom, I have a decorative box on the nightstand. In the kitchen, I have a small container on the counter. These boxes serve as temporary collection points for anything that is out of place and that, for some reason, cannot be put away immediately. For example, if I find a toy in the living room while I'm in the middle of another task, instead of leaving it visible on the couch or floor, I put it in the collection box. If I take off an item of clothing and do not intend to put it away immediately, it goes in the box in the bedroom. The crucial part of this system is to regularly empty these boxes. Once a day, usually at night before bed, I do a quick round and empty all the boxes, returning each item to its proper place. This only takes a few minutes, but it keeps clutter under constant control. What makes this method so effective is that it recognizes a reality. We can't always follow the one-touch rule perfectly or put everything away right away. Sometimes we're in a rush, tired, or just busy with something else. Collection boxes provide a middle ground that keeps clutter from getting out of hand while still keeping our spaces looking organized. Another advantage is that these boxes have become a natural system for the whole family. Even people who aren't naturally organized can easily understand the concept. If you don't know where to put it or don't have time right now, put it in the box. This has significantly reduced conflicts about organization in our home. The boxes also serve as a diagnostic system. If I notice that certain items keep popping up in the collection boxes, it tells me that perhaps those items don't have a suitable or accessible home. I can then create a specific solution to that recurring problem. This simple method has brought visual harmony to the spaces and made it much easier to keep the house constantly tidy, even with the hectic routine of everyday life. Tip 9. The 30-second routine before leaving. This simple rule has drastically changed the way my home looks throughout the day. Before implementing it, I would often come home to a messy house, which was disheartening after a long day out. The idea is to spend exactly 30 seconds tidying up your space before you leave the house. No matter where you're going or how late you're running, it may seem like a few seconds, but it can make a significant difference. Here's how it works. When I'm about to leave, whether it's for work, shopping, or even just a quick walk, I set aside 30 seconds to do a mini tidy-up routine. I pick up any cups or glasses that might be in the living room and take them to the kitchen. I fold and put away the throw blanket I used on the couch. I straighten the throw pillows. I put the remote control back in its place. I pick up any misplaced items and put them in the nearest collection bin. It's not a full-on cleaning. It's just a quick reset. The psychological impact of coming home to a minimally organized home is astonishing. Instead of being greeted by a mess that reminds me of all the tasks I have to do, I enter a welcoming environment that invites me to relax. This breaks the vicious cycle where clutter creates stress. Stress leads to procrastination, and procrastination allows more clutter to accumulate. This 30-second routine works especially well because it creates multiple small resets throughout the day. Instead of letting clutter build up until the evening or weekend, you're constantly returning your environment to its baseline state of organization. Over time, I have extended this practice to other transitional moments. 30 seconds before bed to organize my bedroom, 30 seconds after meals to tidy up the kitchen, 30 seconds before work to tidy up my workspace. Together, these small moments create a home that rarely gets into a state of major clutter. This rule perfectly complements the previous ones, especially the 5-minute rule and the collection bin rule. Together, they create a system that keeps your home continually organized with minimal effort spread throughout the day. Tip 10. The I don't know rule, this seemingly strange rule, has completely transformed how I deal with items in my home, and it's been essential to staying organized in the long run. We all have those things that we just don't know what to do with. Maybe it's a gift you don't really like but feel guilty about giving away, or a keepsake that doesn't have enough sentimental value to display but feels wrong to throw away, or simply something that might come in handy someday. These I don't know items are often the main culprits of persistent clutter. My solution has been to create an I don't know box. It's a specific box tucked away out of sight, where I put all the items that I can't make an immediate decision about. The crucial part of this rule is that the box has a size limit and a deadline. Once the box is full, it's time to review its contents and make decisions. And here's the most important part. I put a date on the box, usually 3 or 6 months in the future. When that date comes, anything that hasn't been removed from the box, i.e., anything that I don't miss or don't need, goes out. No more guilt. No more procrastination. The fascinating thing about this practice is how it takes the stress out of making immediate decisions. We don't have to decide in the moment whether something should stay permanently or go forever. We can give it time to become clear about our relationship with the item. More often than not, I find that if I haven't looked for the item in the box in that time, I don't really need it. Occasionally, I'll look for something specific which confirms its value and secures its place in the home. This rule has helped me overcome the emotional attachment that often keeps us from letting go of things. It's as if I'm giving things a fair chance to prove their worth, rather than making decisions based solely on momentary feelings or guilt. Over time, I've been surprised at how many things I thought I needed, but actually didn't even remember I had. The I don't know box has become a powerful tool for keeping only the things that truly matter in my life, without the stress of making radical decisions right away. Tip 11. The 4-quadrant matrix. Was a revelation for me when I realized I was always cleaning but never really organizing effectively. The 4-quadrant matrix is a systematic approach I use for any space that needs organizing, whether it's a drawer, a closet, or an entire room. It works by mentally dividing items into 4 distinct categories, which makes decisions much clearer and more objective. When I come across a cluttered area, I completely empty the space and classify each item into one of 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1. I use it frequently and value it highly. These are the essential items that I need to access regularly and that really matter to me. In the kitchen, that would be the utensils I use daily. In a closet, it would be the clothes I wear the most. These items deserve the most accessible and convenient spaces. Quadrant 2. I don't use it frequently but value it highly. This includes sentimental items, important documents, and high-value seasonal items. These are things I want to keep but don't need to access every day. These items deserve adequate storage space, protected but not necessarily readily accessible. Quadrant 3. I use them frequently, but don't particularly value them. These are functional items that I use regularly, but that don't have any special sentimental value. They can be easily replaced if necessary. They deserve to be accessible, but not necessarily on display or in the most prime locations. Quadrant 4. I don't use them frequently and don't particularly value them. These items are prime candidates for being donated, sold, or discarded. If something isn't useful or meaningful, it's probably just taking up physical and mental space. When I applied this matrix, I discovered that many of my organizational problems stemmed from not clearly distinguishing between these categories. I was storing quadrant 4 items in prime locations, while the things that really mattered were inaccessible. I also realized that I had many more items in quadrant 4 than I realized. After sorting, I reorganized the space by prioritizing quadrant 1 items, ensuring they were in the most convenient location. Quadrant 2 items were stored appropriately, but in less accessible areas. Quadrant 3 items are accessible but don't take up the most valuable space, and most of the items in quadrant 4 simply left my house. This systematic approach has completely transformed how I think about organizing. Instead of just tidying up over and over again, I've started making intentional decisions about what deserves space in my home and where. Tip 12. The Reset Day Rule. This has been perhaps the most impactful change to the way I keep my home organized in the long run. The idea is simple. Once a week, I dedicate a few hours to a complete reset of the house. This isn't a deep cleaning. It's a return to square one, where everything is returned to its designated place and the systems of organization are restored. I've chosen Sunday afternoon as my weekly reset time. During these 2 or 3 hours, I systematically go through each room of the house with one clear goal: to return everything to its ideal state of organization. I'm not talking about deep cleaning like washing windows or wiping baseboards. I'm talking about restoring order. In practice, this means going through all the collection boxes and emptying them completely. It means looking under couches and beds for forgotten items. It means reorganizing drawers that have started to get messy during the week. It means putting books back on the shelves, tools back in the garage, and clean clothes neatly folded in their places. The beauty of this system is that it prevents the gradual buildup of clutter that over weeks or months can cause an organized home to spiral back into chaos. It's like resetting a counter that would otherwise keep ticking over indefinitely. At first, these reset sessions took a long time, almost an entire day. But as I continued to follow the other rules throughout the week, the 5-minute rule, the one-touch rule, the collection bins, the resets became progressively quicker and easier. Today, they rarely take more than 2 hours. What I found is that this weekly reset creates a virtuous cycle. When I start each week with a completely organized home, it's much easier to keep it that way for the following days. The small daily efforts become more effective because I'm simply maintaining order, not struggling to bring it back from chaos. I've also noticed significant psychological benefits. There's something deeply satisfying about starting the week with everything in order. It reduces anxiety and creates a sense of control that extends to other areas of my life. To make this activity more enjoyable, I've turned it into a personal ritual. I put on some upbeat music, make a special drink, and treat the hours as an investment in my well-being, not a chore. Sometimes I invite the family to join in, making it a collaborative effort that gets done much faster and creates a sense of shared responsibility for the cleanliness of the house. This weekly reset system is the cornerstone that keeps all the other rules running smoothly. It's like regular maintenance on a car. It prevents major problems and keeps everything running smoothly with minimal effort. When I first started applying these 12 rules, I didn't expect them to so profoundly transform not only my home, but also my quality of life. What I've discovered along the way is that an organized home isn't just about appearance. It's about creating an environment that supports us rather than drains us. It's about freeing up time and mental energy for the things that really matter. Let's recap briefly. The 5-minute rule teaches us to solve small problems before they become big ones. A place for everything eliminates indecision and constant searching. Not storing things we don't use frees up physical and mental space. The one-touch rule reduces rework. The 15-minute daily routine makes maintenance manageable. The one-in, one-out rule prevents clutter from accumulating. Fewer horizontal surfaces reduce the points of attraction for clutter. Collection bins create a buffer system that works in real life. The 30 seconds before you leave maintain small resets throughout the day. The I don't know box allows for more informed decisions. The 4-quadrant matrix helps us prioritize. The weekly reset day keeps the whole system running smoothly. The most important thing I've learned is that organization isn't about perfection. It's about creating systems that work for real life, with all its complications and unexpected events. It's about small, consistent actions, not one-time, big overhauls that don't stick. I want to challenge you to pick just one of these rules to start with. Just one. Implement it consistently for 2 weeks and notice the difference. Then add another and another. Little by little, you'll build a personalized system that works for your unique life. Remember, the most organized home isn't necessarily the most beautiful or the one that looks like something out of a magazine. It's the one that works for you, that supports your well-being, and that requires the least amount of effort to maintain. It's the one that gives you more time to live rather than just organize. Which of these rules will you try first? Share in the comments below. Let me know which one caught your attention the most and how you intend to put it into practice. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and activate the bell so you don't miss any new tips. Your dream home is closer than you think.